What is good? What is good? What is good? Hey there, Dave in here, Food Service Unfiltered, for this, our third installment of our podcast. So excited today. As many of you know, that this podcast is designed to find out what is behind people's stories, a glimpse into what got them where they are within this industry. We want to find out their lessons, how they are inspired, etc. We're looking for innovators, disruptors, and influencers in our industry. And as always, my intention is to create that organic space for real conversations. How are we going to get there? I have no idea. And that's the beauty of it. It'll unfold in real time, which is absolutely magic. Um, Thank you to Vivro for the space and place to do this again on the third installment. Before we get to our guest, and I have to read my notes here, I hope everyone has recovered from the FCSI symposium as well as NAFM. Shout out to Wade and Penny at FCSI, Dee, Charlie, and Buffy from NAFM. What an incredible show. Side note, there were a lot of friends in the industry I didn't even see during the show. I ran into Gene Dora at Unox at about 2:58 on the last day, and he's like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "I've been where I've been." So absolutely a great show. Hopefully everyone has recovered. Also wanted to wish you all a happy first day of spring, which is amazing. And there could be some of you that are feeling a little under the weather with the college basketball tournament starting. So you may be taking off a day. I'm not going to judge that. I have it all taped anyway. Go Louisville. They're my pick to win it. Um, let's get to my first guest. I'm going to bring her on, and I'm going to talk about her when I bring her on. So she may roll her eyes and blush. So Becky, I'm going to read this. So everyone, my first guest, Becky Smith. Becky is a leader, a mother, a sage. She is kind, generous, funny, wise, and grounded. Over the time I've known Becky, I think about 8 years or so, I've seen her elevate into a true servant leader. She has an unrelenting passion to not only make her company and her teams better, but the world around her better. Becky, welcome to Food Service Unfiltered.
What an introduction. It's been an good 8 years knowing you. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
you are so
Thanks for
lucky.
having me.
You're welcome,
Really,
Becky.
really appreciate it. Really impressed with the podcast you've started and proud of you for getting that off the ground.
Yeah, and it's you were one of my first thoughts of people I wanted to talk to, given our friendship over the years, and your story is unique, and I felt people really needed to hear about it. So, Becky, before we get into the meat of our conversation, who do you work for? What do you do?
Mhm.
What is your role within the industry?
Yes. So I have been lucky enough to be with Clark Associates for almost 22 years now. So, as I typically tell people, I started right out of kindergarten. But it's fantastic. It's one of the best companies that I know of when I talk to peers and friends. We're the largest food service equipment and supply dealer in the country, based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I represent our Clark National Accounts team. So we're working with the larger, complex, sophisticated multi-unit partner across the country, whether that's senior living, chain restaurants, higher ed, healthcare. And it's just the partnerships we develop, the friendships we make, like you and I have along the way, whether it be the vendor partners or the end user partners, is I think truly why I've stayed in this industry and really enjoyed, every year and every new partnership.
I love that, Becky. Do you mind before we get started? I could tell the story how we met. I embellish over the
I
years.
was hoping you would.
Yeah, so SHFM probably 8 years
Mhm.
ago. I was
Miami.
Miami. That's right. I might have been on planning or new member, and I saw this woman, the woman being you, with this deer in the headlight look, a little bit like almost like first day of kindergarten, not sure of herself. And I walked over in my mind's eye. This is what I thought. I said to you, Becky, hi, because I could see your name tag. My name is Davin. Can we be friends? And in my mind's eye, you said, yes, I want to be your friend. And I said, great. It maybe didn't shake out that way, but that's how we met, and I would say a friendship from that point on for sure.
Yeah, I think we can thank Ryan Tibertini for that too, at Clark Foodservice Equipment, because I sort of filled a slot, sort of more last minute with something he had going on. So I don't know. Kudos to Ryan, right?
Way to go, Ryan! Thank you. Um, well, let's get into the question. So you talked about Clark. You started when you were in kindergarten, like, which is
I did.
amazing.
Hmm.
Overachiever. Um, you're a mother, and we've had these conversations prior to this podcast. Um, Talk to me about your role in motherhood, and that relates in in your words.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in positions where we have, all of these other responsibilities in our life on top of, our work and our career and all of those things, that we want to accomplish. But yeah, being I think being a mother is how I define myself first, right? Family is extremely important to me, extended family, friends, and that's really your support network. I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. So,
Um,
that certainly keeps me busy. How old's Nate?
11. He'll be 12 in May. Just
That's
crazy. He's
right.
5'7" now as an 11-year-old. My, it's not getting the height from here, but it's crazy.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, I think there's always the constant struggle and battle to make sure you're dividing yourself appropriately. Um, I think navigating the challenges of being a mother are sometimes the hardest, right? I think that,
Yeah.
we have a bit more control over things in our work environment, but man, has it given me a heightened sense of resiliency, empathy, which I think is really important, especially when you're building teams and working with partners. And people really, I think, want to work with people that they connect with and want to work for people that they connect with, and that really show that.
Talk to me more about that empathy you related to your children and work. Can you expand on that? That was a meaty topic. Like hearing empathy in the workplace, which
Hmm.
is unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and we've talked about this before too, and you're an empath. I think you just genuinely caring about people and their well-being. I mean, obviously we do that with our children, and it's sort of one of our core purposes, but utilizing that in the right space and still being able to set boundaries. But I think so when I look at being a mother,
Yep.
um, you are your children's biggest fan. They are truly at times, your whole world. But it's important to also have something that's yours. And, is that sort of how you look at it too? I mean, how do you sort of separate what you're doing in terms of fatherhood versus, the teams that you're working with?
Yeah, like I mean, you brought it up. Like I'm a father first, so like Nate's ground zero for me. When
Mhm.
his first breath, I was like, oh gosh, I said it before. It's like, here's my heart. I'm going to give it to you, my child, and I will also protect you for the rest of your life, etc. So, gosh, Becky, it's every day is a decision to be present. I found when I'm more present with Nate, I'm more present at work. So, and some
Yeah.
days are better than others. At some days, it's like I'm thinking about work, I'm not present, and that may they show up at work. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I read a bunch of different articles, and something that I was looking at most recently, I think it was maybe a Mel Robbins piece, but it really was like that term of like work-life balance is not really true anymore. It's more of the work-life juggle.
Yep.
And I think that's truly how it is, right? It may be that you have to take care of some things while you're in your work mode, from a home standpoint. And today, for example, I'm going to be running out of here to go to a lacrosse game, working at a concession stand, right? Paying your dues there, and watching the cross, but you might get back to some things later that you need to take care of. And I think it's just figuring out, what's most important in that moment that you have to tend to and focus on and who needs you the most.
Do you ever have moments where you totally, yard sale or fall flat on your face as a mom with your kids? Like, do
Every
you ever have?
day,
Yeah.
every
How do you
day.
how do you navigate that, or what do you do with that when you do?
Yeah. I think it's important to recognize it. I mean, I think there's the opportunity to sit in that and say, well, that wasn't the best way to handle that. And just circling back with them. And, you're not always going to get it right. But I think the more things that you recognize that you want to change and make better, then the more you can focus on that and do it differently the next time. It's really hard, especially with a teen. I think that everyone can relate to that has a teenager, but it's, you're definitely friends one day and maybe not the next, but you have to know that in the end you're doing the right thing and being a parent first. But yeah, it's a constant struggle, and you're always sort of questioning the decisions that you made or the direction that you're leading these people in, whether that be at home or at work, and just truly wanting the best for everyone and for the sake of the business or the future of your children's lives. And but I think that's where humility comes in, right? It's like
Uh,
we're people, and we're gonna get it wrong, but I think we just have to reflect and learn.
I I believe kids don't expect you to be perfect, because they'll remember anchor points throughout their life that or you and I may not even think about, but they'll remember it. I believe if they know you're trying or
Yep.
you're doing your best, they'll, when they get to be 25, they'll give you grace and go, you know what, mom and dad kind of did their best. They had flaws. I mean, we all have flaws. No big deal.
100%. Yeah, and I think that's where, the just kind of through action, right? And the things that you do and the way that you take care of them. But it is sometimes you feel like you don't have enough time or enough energy. I mean, I'm feeling it getting into my 40s now, right? You don't have the energy that you used to coming home from work or
Yep,
traveling. I mean, we both do quite a bit of traveling. I think
yep.
that definitely takes a toll, and it's harder to recover from things like that because you get home and you still have to catch up from everything. But I think you have to be really intentional too.
Oh,
One of the
talk
things that
talk
I've
about that. Yeah, I like that. Sorry to interrupt. I like that. Intentional. Go.
Yeah, and I'm not always good at this, but I think one of the things I am trying to do more so is it's easy for me to get home and get back on my laptop or catch up on things here and there. And there's the well, when you're at work, do work, when you're at home, do home, and it's really it's really all over the place. But let's say someone's busy doing something else, if they're doing homework or playing, taking their time to play video games or something that isn't necessarily a chance for me to connect with them. But the second Henry runs up those stairs and is like, hey, you want to go throw the football? I am closing up my laptop and going out to do it, because 10 seconds from then, he may not want to do that with me. And I want to soak in all those moments I can, because I know they're not forever, right? I can come back and finish something later.
You, I love that story about Henry. And we've had this conversation before, just offline, the two of us, where parenting is a series of like celebration or success and a series of mourning in the same breath.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, when your child first starts to walk, it's celebration, but that also means you may not get to hold them as much because they learn how to walk and they're off to the races. And have you experienced any type of that, or moments in your children's growth, or do you look at it that way, reflect on that?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I definitely do, especially as my daughter's reaching the end of her high school term and we're looking at colleges and sort of faced with
Wow.
what that's going to mean. And, the thought of her moving out, I don't know how you get through that, but you do, and you come to terms with the new normal. But I think that's also where it's like I've been more intentional again to
uh,
sort of slow down and enjoy all of those moments and the vacations and the times that we have together, because you can't get that time back. I forget where I saw this recently, but someone said that by the time they're 18, you have spent like 85% of the time that you'll ever spend with them.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I thought, man, did that go fast?
Yeah, it probably seems like yesterday you were bringing Sammy home from the hospital, and
Right.
now
Right.
she's looking at schools.
Yep, yep, it's true. But it's also fair to have something that I'm passionate about,
Yep.
right? It's also fair to spend the time that I do spend in my career, whether that's overnights or days at the office, or sequestered myself up
Yeah.
in the bedroom finishing a project, or making sure that something's up to the standards that I want them to be, and that's okay too, right? Because at the end of the day, I have to be proud of the work that I'm doing, and I have to make sure that the teams around me within the company are getting what they need. So, guilt's tough, right? You struggle with that on
Ah,
all fronts. Is the family getting what they need? Or am I doing at work what I need to be doing? And that tug and pull, but identifying, I think, and acknowledging that is it has made it easier for me.
so yeah, boy, that was amazing, Becky.
I don't know where that came from. Just came out.
Hey, hey, that's what Food Service Unfiltered is all about. You talked about guilt. Well, let's backtrack. You talked about being intentional for yourself. Talk to me more.
Hmm.
Why is that important for you? And
Mm,
how does that relate into the work at Clark or in your family? It's just being that intentional.
yeah. Do you do that? Are you intentional?
On good days, yeah. Like I
Mhm.
set my intention in the morning, like this is what I'm going to be. It's gratitude, open up with gratitude. Oh my gosh, allow the universe to fill me up and then
Yeah.
in turn give that back out. Some days super distracted, not not hitting on all cylinders. So in a perfect world, in a textbook, you bet.
Yeah.
Then there's the real life part.
Yeah, so maybe it's more about just being satisfied with the decision I've made to either spend more time on work or something else that I have going on, versus I realize that maybe the family's hanging out in the family room right now and I'm missing out on that opportunity, but I have I've done that enough the last, 3 or 4 times that this time I'm gonna accept that I need to spend time doing something different.
Give
Um,
yourself give yourself a little grace in that moment. Like it's okay. Like to make
right.
it okay for yourself to take care of your needs.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and boundaries comes into that too. I mean,
Mhm.
we can't be everything to everyone 100% of the time, and the I think kids recognize that their parents have other responsibilities, careers, jobs, and things that are important to them, not only just for the basic means of, providing, but I think that that's a passion, that they have, and I know my children see my happiness around the work that I do and the partnerships and friendships that I make. And I think they don't know it now, but later on, when they're in a similar position, they'll recognize that a little bit more. All right, that's why that time was spent doing that, and that really made her happy. So it's good.
It's, it's something relatable they can see in real time because it's their mother. You're enjoying
Mhm.
what you're doing, not against the children or taking away from them, but they can see you happy, and so they can You're giving them something they can identify with, right? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I think so. I know you do this with Nate too, but even just instilling that work ethic
Yeah.
ideal, right? And that like you have to if you want something, you have to put the time in to get it, right? You get out what you put in, and we have those conversations, whether it's around schoolwork or sports teams, and how are you mentoring the underclassmen, and all of those things are really important to be a good person, I guess. I have a sign at the top of the steps that says, do what is right, not what is easy. And I think of that often because I think what's easy, um you do it because it's easy, right? I think sometimes
Right.
doing what's right is harder. It takes longer. You have to sit in the mess a bit more, but in the end, it's the right thing to do. So we talk a lot about that, and I think that plays into this too.
That's amazing, Becky. Is it a daily discipline or is it a weekly discipline? This intentionality and conversations with the kid, like how does that fit into your life? Like what we've
Mm.
just been talking about.
Yeah, I think we said too, like you don't always get it right. So I probably
Yeah.
go pockets of times where
Yep.
it's unhealthy and it's, not how I would want it to be. But I think then you just kind of rein yourself back in, right? I think we're
Yep.
all our own toughest critic, but
Yep.
it's one of my greatest mentors, Chip Kent,
Mm.
has said you can only control your own pocket of quality. So I think focusing on that, and just trying to make sure that the people around you are, doing the same thing. How about you?
How do I do it? You know, I'm going to answer the question. Something you talked. I'm going to just jump and answer something you said a while ago. Just about children. Sorry, I'm doing a hard pivot, but I told
Do
you I
it.
may be doing it. You were talking about being intentional with the kids. For me, my experience with my father, which I love him, it was
Mm,
the hard work. The sign you had has to be hard work. There wasn't a ton of levity or joy in it. Not that my father wasn't joyful; he absolutely was joyful. One thing I've been really intentional and conscious with Nate is you can laugh or have
mm,
levity and be disciplined and hard work. So really trying to focus on finding joy in the moments. And joy could be washing the dishes or shoveling snow with your son. Like those are moments of joy. Um, yeah, when you mentioned that before with your son, I had to share that
mm.
with you. Just bringing
Yeah,
levity into everything we do, which is probably
yeah.
my love language anyway, is just levity. Yeah.
And two, I think just being in the moment, focusing
Yeah.
on the moment, and I think a lot of people that know me would laugh at that because I am planning 2027 already. So that's hilarious. But it's something that I'm trying to do more of, right? Is actually be like, okay, this is so, this is a great chance to bond and have this opportunity. And we recently went on a ski trip to Montana, which was a big bucket list thing for us. And,
Yep.
each day I just looked out over the mountains and the fact that I had my whole family there and that we were all
Um,
together and just sort of said to myself, like, wow, we're here, we're doing this, right?
yeah.
Versus thinking of what we were doing that afternoon or the next day or flying home and things like that. So I think that's what I'm trying to focus on more.
And what joy and what intimacy you're getting with your family for giving them the gift of being present with them. And
Yeah.
whatever they're saying or doing is the most important thing in your world at the time. You're not thinking about Excel files or, who we're meeting with at AHF. It's my kids and my family, which
So
is
I
amazing.
still might be. So I might have lied a little, but
That's okay. I did too.
I, s- I was driving back from a work trip yesterday and I was talking about this podcast and
Yep.
um just kind of said like the topic of like work life balance and Blake kind of laughed. Blake Andrews, I love him. He just kind of laughed and it's true because I am constantly on my laptop and uh, you know, trying to juggle everything, but it is funny because you really have to make an effort.
I love it when you're in an intense Becky mode. When I can see it when I've seen you at AHF or other events, and I'll metaphorically go up and just mess your hair up because because I know I can do that. When I know you're like deep in thought and you're planning out 2027 and beyond, I'm like, I'm just gonna little levity here, which
Yep, you
for
got
the
to
most part, I think it's landed well with you over the years.
bring me back to earth.
Yeah. Side note too about Becky. This by the way, Bob Kleckner says hello. Becky with the good hair. I think he coined that for
Yes,
you.
you did.
Or
Yes,
yes.
you did.
Two great
Hi, Bob.
minds in one. Seth says two great minds in one room. I think one is in Lancaster. The other mind, we're not so sure. That's TBD. Um, one thing I have to tell about Becky professionally, we'll work on projects together, and I'll send her an email with a couple questions, next steps, something very professional, and Becky will just respond back to me with the word no, which I love. I love it because I spent a half an hour trying to type this email, and she said no, but then she responds or picks up the phone, and we talk about the project. That is so killer that you do that, Becky. I absolutely love that about you. That is your wicked sense of humor there.
It's something, I guess, right?
It's your delivery, as I mentioned earlier, your delivery is so straightforward and so dry that like people are not ready for it, and it's amazing. So don't ever stop. Keep doing that. It's simply amazing.
You're sweet.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, you want to move on to the next topic? It's kind of
Let's
a
do it.
transition. Yeah, let's do it. So is it uh transition to what we were talking about, like parenting and being present. You and I are both part of a club and of losing parents. And this isn't about like our loss. It's absolutely not. It's more
Mhm.
the reflection post that. Becky, how do I frame this? Like, I'm not going to ask you what is it like to lose a parent. It's great. Like, given your experience, what was a takeaway from that experience that you had on, and maybe give some context around that if you could.
Yeah. Boy, this is unfiltered, huh?
It is. We're getting right in there. Don't worry, it's
Right to
safe
right
place.
to the core.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, and you've gone through this too, more, more recently, and I think it all plays into, what we talked a bit about too, and my journey and being a mom and being a bit more present because I think you do learn that tomorrow isn't promised, and I certainly go through pockets where I take things for granted, but I think
Yep.
it's easier to take a step back when the reality of knowing how easily things can happen are, right? So that you don't get um, too high with the highs and too low with the lows because things will change. But yeah, that was definitely like a pivotal moment in my life. And at a young age of 14, and my dad passed away of cancer, and um, that was definitely hard. And in the same year, so then my sister, so he passed away in July, and then we moved my sister into her college dorm in August at James Madison in Virginia. Yeah. So that was a big change, and it was just me and my mom, and going through high school and all of those things. But I think too that's the biggest piece of what was learned too, along with like resilience,
Ah,
and that when something bad happens, and then something else bad happens, but it's not as bad as the first thing, it's easier to get over it or accept it. So as those things scale in life, like you build up a better, thicker kind of wall, and and that's how I look at it too, is that it's helped make me who I am, and wouldn't wish it on anybody. But the fact is we have to go through these things, and, you know, and learn from them. And great things ended up coming from it as well. And my mom is remarried, and
nice.
wouldn't have picked anyone else, and, great extended family now. And so you have to kind of look at it that way. How do you look at it?
Oh gosh. First, I want to acknowledge I love that perspective piece that you had there. It really gives you. I heard you say perspective through the years. How did I get there? The first year, 2 years was it's just awful. Um, and how do I navigate? I've focused on um, the wonderful traits he gave me, and I
Hmm.
celebrate that. And pictures I have of my dad in my office are ones of my happiest times with him. So that just reminds me of the time. So he'll always be here. I think about him every day. Um,
Hmm.
and part of the gift he gave when I'm not as present. sometimes dad, I feel like he'll tap me on the shoulder, like tell me to breathe, pause, and look at it as something different when I'm, laser focused on something that may not be serving me. I feel like he's there. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, it's never easy, but I, I go back to I'm kind of talking all over the place, but that's kind of how it is. I really focus on the gratitude of, I was so fortunate to have so many years with him, and he left an indelible mark on my life. And it was amazing. And I got to, frankly, Becky, and I mentioned it before, I was able to be there when he left, and
Right.
it was fantastic. And it was awful, all in the same breath. Um,
Right.
but getting back to what you said, it's like the finality and then knowing, okay, I made it through. In the moment, I thought I'll never be able to get through this. And
Right.
yeah, you get
Right.
through.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks, right? But I think you just have to, you take one day at a time. And I think you realize the strength too that you're capable of,
Yeah.
right? Which, like grit's a word I think of a lot and
Yeah.
talk about with the kids. And I think like you can't have the strength that you need to persist and prevail if you haven't had obstacles and
Yep.
failures and sadness.
Yeah.
And so I think that like that all builds grit, and grit equals determination equals right success. So I think that's also a big piece of it. And then it just goes back to the resilience piece, right? Because change is inevitable. And I think you've said this to me before, but really at the end of the day, we can't really control anything. We think we can, you know,
Yep.
but we can't.
To all of our type A friends. Oh my God, I love it. I love
Mm,
I love messing up their metaphorical hair. Yeah, but yeah, it's a safety thing. What I'm hearing you say just around, your father is maybe when you're 14, you're still a child. It sounds like you're taking a growth mindset to this versus a victim mentality or
mm.
reduction mindset. Am I paraphrasing that right? That are you taking a growth mindset as it relates to that loss?
Yeah, I think probably later in life, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think time and maturity and reflection and space from that too. I think you're kind of at that spot too, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not as heavy. I miss him on his birthday and Father's Day, and but it's not as heavy. And I get to
Mhm.
see the world through the eyes of my son, which
Yeah,
is that is like the gift. And that's where I feel like I'm walking hand in hand with dad as I'm watching Nate experience whatever he's experiencing as an 11-year-old for the first time. And I've really tried to, I'm definitely an active parent, but take a step back on his experiences and not kind of create experience for him, meaning let him interpret, take it in, and answer questions if he has any. Does that
yeah,
make sense? How
yeah,
I'm trying to do it?
yeah. No, it definitely does. And I think that's the intentional piece, right?
Yeah,
And it's also okay to not be okay. So to remind ourselves of that and allow us to like feel those moments. And um I think something it's done for me too is
yeah,
that I do need to work on is I want to fix everything because I don't want bad things to happen.
yeah.
So I tend to, and that's kind of like hand in hand with the control thing. But I think I have a tendency to like over complicate things with the because I want to fix it because I want to avoid bad things happening. So, but again, that's just being aware of that and recognizing it and, changing it where you can.
Self awareness. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and that's natural, Becky. Yeah, you don't want bad things to happen, and it's that I'm hearing it's a fine line between control, which you're able to, which is your consciousness, I guess, your intention, and
Right.
do
Not
your
always good
best.
at it, but aware of it.
That's the first start, Becky. You don't need
Yep.
see you again for any type A's, and I'm absolutely not judging type A's. You don't have to get it perfect. We're not asking you to get it perfect. Just asking you to do your best, and
Right.
your best that day could be a D minus,
Pretty
but
bad. Yep.
it's your best. That's all,
Yep.
like give it the old college try.
Move on to the next one. Yeah, and I mean, you've been through that with your, losing your dad, and
Yeah,
through a journey with your mom, and she's
yeah.
in a good spot now.
She is. She's starting to show up at like, and I love her. Mom, I know you're going to be listening to this. I love it. Sometimes she'll show up at 3:30 and say, "Hey, what's for dinner?" I'm like, "Just finished lunch." Um,
Mm-hmm.
and every time she walks into the room, because you can look right over there, she'll open those French doors, and I love seeing her. So yeah, so grateful. And um, just talking about mother, like I believe a lot of the female friends I have, you included Steph Gilbert, Danielle Mason, Amy Lewis, are friends. So much of my ability to navigate as true friends comes from her, because I saw it at an early age. I'm like, oh, this is how it can be done in a healthy, semi-normal way. I'll
Yeah.
never be normal.
Yeah, you do have no, you won't, I'm kidding. You do have a great woman following posse. I mean, you definitely, have a lot of friends in general, but I think, and I think that's because of I think that's due to
Yeah,
empathy and, yeah, the outreach that you do, and the way that you stay in touch with everyone. And yeah, going back to that trade show where, it was my first one, and you know how those are.
yeah.
You don't really know anyone in the crowd, or you don't really understand what the vibe is, and it takes kind of years to build that up. And you, for me, made that easier. And I think too, that's what you pay forward, right? The longer you're in the
Uh,
industry, and the more people you know, and the bigger your network grows, it's easier to do that for other people, because you know what it felt like, right? Walking into it.
Are you doing mentoring in the industry, or at least giving colleagues or industry friends access? Is that something you're doing these days?
I think we all do naturally do that, right? As we're
Yeah,
interacting with new vendors, and just partners, and trying to help get them onto committees, and expressing the importance of the boards that we
yeah,
are part of or have interaction with. Because it's, Danielle Mason has always said, lift while you're climbing. And
yeah,
I always appreciate that. But yeah, internally here at Clark Associates, we have a mentorship program,
nice.
on a larger scale, but also just within the company that I'm in. And I think those are great, right? It gives you that avenue, that person to connect with,
Yeah,
and reach out to. And I've got a couple of great mentors, as well. I mentioned Chip Kent, who's been in the industry for many, many years, and is still connected to Clark in a way through our employee services, training and development. But I had his year, even just a couple of weeks ago for a while, and it fills my cup. And of course, Barbara Kane's been a great mentor for me and a lot of us,
me too.
um,
Yeah,
in the industry, just from being a woman in leadership and kind of navigating, some ins and outs of just the obstacles that we all face. So that's been important to me. And obviously, if you can pay that forward and help someone else along, then that's key.
and I believe, Becky, it's so much fun to have a full table of people at the party. Meaning, like, to your point of bringing people along, it's like, oh my gosh, you get to celebrate, whether they're a junior, wherever they are in their career. You could just bring them forward. Like, how much joy can you get from that,
Hmm.
to share that experience, and then it just begets itself, and you continue to expand that, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think it's a great example. What about you, from a mentorship
Oh
standpoint?
gosh, I have like 50 mentors. So like Jason Wayne, like it's mentors day to day. Jason Wayne is a great mentor. Healthy male. Gosh, you know, I know he'll roll his eyes, but Shane Varnum too. He's a friend, and he's a mentor. I'll pull things that maybe I'm like, oh gosh, I want to do that better. I'll pull that from
Hmm.
Shane for sure. Rob Gephardt, Damian Monticello, Rob Gordon. Those guys are great mentors and friends of mine. So early in my career, actually, I'll backtrack and going on a tangent, Becky, but
Do it.
I had my first real interview. And side note is I wore pleated khaki pants, shoes with tassels, and a sweater vest. So like I should have been fired on the spot for that outfit. It was horrendous, and I had bad hair. Um,
This was recent?
no, no, no. I do own one sweater vest. Um, much to the chagrin of my loved ones. A gentleman named Tom Bauer, who's with Farmer Brothers, hired me 20 plus years ago. I was so nervous, so green. I just finished doing social work, so I was ready to get into the food service industry. And he hired me in spite of my look that day on my interview.
Mm,
um, so Tom's also been, a great friend and mentor. I find that I'll start with friendship and then they'll become into mentors. But Becky, I could use you as a mentor of things I pull from you and how we interact as friendship is like, I can learn a lot from you just by being in the space with you.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the great thing about the network and,
Yep.
you know, working with each other and how did you handle this situation? And it expands well beyond work, as we've said, and into motherhood and being a father and navigating all of those things. So that always helps me.
So you're saying you have it all figured out. It's every day is a home run, grand slam, um, or somewhere in between. I'm
Yeah.
hearing.
Very rarely, but when you do have those days, they're
Yeah.
great, but no, it's a constant juggle.
Yep. I get that. That was amazing, Becky. And I've seen it, just watching you from afar in the industry of how intentional you are. I've seen you be kind to people when nobody's looking. I've seen you mentor people when nobody's looking, and to me, that speaks to your character as a person. Beyond, it's always been perceived not what can I get, but what can I give. And I've
Mm,
always experienced that with you, and I mean, you're amazing on a multiple levels. That's one of those traits that I'm like, gosh, that's amazing.
thank you. Means a lot, and likewise to you. I think your energy and passion for the work that you're doing, and
Yeah.
I think Vivo is lucky to have you, and so is our industry.
Thank you. Thank you. If Bob's still on, you can ask him for a raise. Could you do that for
Okay,
me, Bob?
Bob, you there? You there?
He's in Germany right now, but he'll he'll,
Is
he'll
he?
laugh later. Yeah, and I am compensated fairly, so I'm anyway. I'll leave it at that. I appreciate
That's
what I'm
right.
doing, and frankly, I came to Vivo with this idea and said, hey, I want to do this, and they said, okay. I'm
I
like,
know.
awesome.
Awesome. I love it.
Um, so, speaking of the industry, is there anybody you're following? You don't need to give shout
Mm.
outs, Becky. Is there anybody you're following? I know you've talked about your mentors. Anybody for you that, um, past or present,
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah, I think I've, starting to listen to more podcasts and follow different people in that regard. I think a lot of people have heard of Brene Brown or
yep,
Mel Robbins. And so I think like not specifically in like the food service industry, but just in general in terms of, leadership and how to approach situations. And I think that's been really helpful. So I'm starting to do that in the morning drive in versus listening to music, which is also great and helpful. But I think that's been really helpful because it makes you think
oh,
differently. And so I think those things are important to keep up with. We have to keep kind of challenging ourselves and learning new things that we can implement and keep making ourselves better. So I focus on that, especially now into my 40s and making sure I'm staying on top of things and staying fresh. How about you?
what do I do? Well, two that came to mind today: Karen Melody, and Georgie Shockey,
Hmm.
are just two fantastic innovators. I had a call with Georgie earlier this week, and we were both talking with our hands, and it was amazing. And when you get, when you're around people like that, that excitement is
Yes,
contagious. Um, and we figured out all life's problems, all food service, like everything within a 30-minute call. So those two, I'm just always blown away. And those two are mentors that are always gracious, always have time, always make space. So those are two
love that.
two. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, I haven't met Karen, but I know. Georgie obviously through AHF, and
Yeah.
man, is she sharp. And she's one of those people where you get off your committee or board calls and you're like, man, I got a ways to go here.
No,
How do
she's
you get to
legit.
be?
No,
Yeah,
I'm like angry. Why are you so good?
I
Like,
know. It's
yeah,
so awesome. Yeah.
yeah,
We've got good
that's
people.
and that makes the industry better. Speaking of AHF, we will be going in August, correct?
August. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I
Looking
know
forward
you've
to it.
I know you've been on a planning committee before. Just folks that are listening, tell us a little bit about AHF. Shout out to you, Leah and team.
Yeah, fantastic association. Association of Healthcare Food Services really focuses on your healthcare, senior living, so hospital and senior living, hospitality, and primarily for the self-op segment of our industry. And just the collaboration and just culinary leads that we've met have been fantastic. And obviously, as business partners, we've learned a lot. We're able to help them with their supply needs and on all fronts. And that's expanded out beyond that, right, with word of mouth. But yeah, being able to be part of the conference planning committee a couple of years ago, and both with being on the industry advisory board, and we're able to kind of be in those rooms and really hear what the challenges are that the operators are facing so that we can offer solutions. And what I also love about AHF is they are very much interested in working with the business partners that are part of AHF.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely get out what you put in, and the partnership and alliances there are strong. So, and I know you feel that way too.
Oh, Leah just chimed in. It wouldn't be the same without you two.
He's
Um,
awesome.
and she said to operate at Georgie. Leah, tell me, do you have a favorite between Becky or me? No pressure. I
I'm
know it's you.
texting her right now.
Well, I already know it's you. Um,
Uh-huh.
I'm a bit much. I laughed when I first joined AHF. It was either Gilbert or Mason or you said, no, this group likes to dance at the closing conference. And
Oh, yes.
I'm like,
Mhm.
no, they don't. And boy, do they ever, there's something beautiful about celebrating your industry and the people in your industry. And that's to
Mm.
me what dance is. And they always have good bands too. So if you're not going to
Always.
AHF, you should go because super fun that way.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's the epitome of work hard and work
Yeah.
hard, play hard, right? I mean, there's a time to kind of socialize and celebrate, and but you have to put the hard work in.
Yeah, and these leaders within AHF at these hospitals and senior dining locations are just doing some amazing cutting edge
Mhm.
work. This
Yeah.
idea of institutional dining is like that was 20 years, 25 years
Yeah.
ago.
That's out the
Right now,
window.
no, it is like five-star restaurants and experience. It's amazing.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. That's definitely enjoyed every moment I have on that committee and association.
Yep, I love it. Becky, do you want to play a game?
I'm a little nervous.
You should be. You should
Yes.
totally be.
No
Okay.
idea.
The setup here is Becky. I'm going to ask Becky 7 questions. Becky, for the crowd, do you have any idea what these questions are?
No, which is why I'm scared.
Okay, as you should
Okay.
be. If you get all 7 questions right, at the end of the 7 questions, you'll get a prize or a gift. Does that seem
Okay.
fair? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yes.
No pressure.
Okay.
Now for something completely different. And yes, I'm ripping that from Monty Python, everyone. I am absolutely doing that. Rapid fire questions.
Okay. Let's go.
Number one, and I'm reading this so I get it right. Your family
Okay.
loves to ski. Do you have a favorite mountain thus far that your family skied at?
Good question. I'm gonna have to go with this recent trip to Big Sky, Montana. I think is not in number one now.
Number one, Big Sky.
Mhm.
That's an amazing mountain. Yep.
Yeah. Unreal.
Um, I will tell you at the end if you got them all right, but I think you're trending towards a positive
Okay.
score
All right.
here.
Fingers
Um,
crossed.
fingers crossed. Do you have a favorite Clark product?
Oh, interesting. Um,
And the other
wow.
products will not feel bad if you chose this one over them because you have a lot of products at Clark.
uh, yeah, with over 450,000, there's many to choose from. Um, I think I'm gonna have to go with our private label microwaves. Been working with some partners closely recently with those, and good product at a good price. That's my
I
answer.
love. I, that's amazing. I never thought microwaves. And amazing. Like it's such a fantastic response and genuine. I love it.
When I grow up,
Uh,
I want to sell microwaves and tongs, and I do.
and you do it well, Becky, with
Mm,
grace and honor. Third question. Describe a perfect day to you. And it doesn't have to be the whole
mm,
day. It could be any could be traits of the day, actual activities of the day.
yeah. I mean, I would definitely say with spring coming, I'm looking forward to yard work and mulching and planting my flowers and doing all that. So I would say a significant portion of outside time, working
Yeah,
on something that I can see sort of like the fruits of the labor. And then outside of work and those things, it would be spending time with the kids.
fantastic. You're still trending well. I'm liking the answers thus far.
Good.
Um, of all my traits, would you say humility or humor is your favorite? My traits.
You definitely have both in a great spot, but I have to say humor. I have to say it. And you always make me laugh, and a lot of times that's needed, as you said. If I'm in my serious mode, you kind of knock me out of it. But I think it's definitely why everyone's drawn to you. The whole industry crew is just drawn to you because you make it fun.
Okay, thank you. That was lovely. I wasn't fishing, a little tongue in cheek, but thank you. I'll receive that. Thank you, Becky.
Good.
Three words that describe food service to you.
Mm. Culinary came to mind just because that is, trying to push the envelope and deinstitutionalize, especially in the non-commercial space. Partner. I
Mhm.
think that's vendor relationships as well as, end user. And then I would also just say friendship,
Oh,
because it extends just beyond a business transaction. And I think that's where, our loyalty and trust, that sets us apart and sort of defines, the work that we're doing.
fantastic, Becky. I'm not saying you got them all right, but
Right.
again,
A couple.
you're trending well.
Okay.
Okay. Sixth question. Hopefully I got it right.
Okay.
You're stranded on a desert island.
Mm.
That's all. You're just stranded on a
That's it.
desert island. Yeah.
Okay. And what do I take?
That was my joke for you. You just say it. No, I was just saying you're stranded on a desert island, and then I was gonna um, verbally walk away and see what you were gonna do with that.
Got it. Got it. I was
But
waiting for more.
yeah, um, stranded on a desert island, music, food. You had to eat it for a year, or listen to it for a year. Any comforts of home or something you would
Mm.
want for a year.
Mhm. Definitely coffee.
Okay.
Definitely to start my day with that. I don't really like to talk until I have it. So, I think that's an absolute must for me.
Cafe. That's it. Yeah.
How about you? What would yours be?
Oh, perfect day.
No, if you're stranded on an island and you can only have
Gosh, I mean a couple things. I would have to have every Clash album ever made, all the Guster albums, um, the Pistols. I would need to have music like everywhere, depending on the mood. Some
mm,
Grateful Dead. So like it would be music. I would color outside the lines, and I'd need like 50 of the bands that I like to listen to, from electronica to Deadheads to jam, whatever the mood is, and coffee too.
yeah.
And Janine
Yep.
Cosgrove Albert said amen to coffee too.
Love it.
Um,
Oh,
yeah, so,
Janine.
yep, she's one of the best. Okay, one more question, and you're still trending well. We have 5 minutes, so this is perfect timing. Advice you would give to 24, 25-year-old Becky. Anything
Mm.
you would say to her?
You don't have to get it all right. I think show yourself more grace. Yeah. I can hear myself saying that to team members now, or my kids, or friends, or um don't be so hard on yourself, I think. Still telling
That's
myself that.
it's amazing. It's like what you're right. It's your practice, and you're encouraging them to be on that practice. So
Yeah.
I
Great
love that
questions.
response. Thank you, thank you. I love your answer for the give yourself grace. My God,
Mm.
that's something people really can take away. So I'm going to tabulate the questions, Becky.
Okay.
See if you
Great.
got them right.
Okay.
Again, I think you're doing carry the 9. Yep, Becky, you got all 7 questions right.
Yes. This
Yeah,
is great.
can you believe it? Look for a gift at some point, a
Great.
prize for answering those questions right. Uh,
Wonderful. Thank
Bec-
you.
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You were a prodigy when it came to these questions. So it was really impressive how you responded so quickly in real time too, just off the top
Yeah.
of your head. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um. So Becky, we have like 3 or 4 minutes left. Anything else that's just on your mind we didn't talk about? Anything you want to say? I mean, just anything. Like now is the time and space for that.
Yeah. I'm, again, like I said at the beginning, I'm proud of you for starting this podcast. And I know it's something you've been thinking about for a while. And kudos to Vivro for, allowing this and making it turn into something great. And always appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and celebrate, I think, the work that we're doing and, the industry that we're in. And it definitely gets in your blood, right? And something you're passionate about. And I think that's just kind of, tying things back to being a parent and the things that you wish for your kids is you want them to be happy. And yeah, and we make a joke of it, right? When I grow up, I want to sell microwaves and tongs. And I've said that to my daughter before, and she's like, no, mom, I'm not doing that. Well, for me, it's a passion. And you wish that for your friends and your family and for your kids to find something like that. So I know you feel the same way about the work you do.
I do, and I'm drawn like so you can find joy in tongs or microwaves,
Yep.
but you
Sure.
can.
Yep.
Sure.
That's right.
And Clark has amazing tongs. FYI, yeah, it goes back to everything we talked about today, Becky, and it was a perfect bow you just described. It's about intention, and that can be applied to work. Everything you're doing. Oh, Leia said no comment, so I think that must mean she likes me better. By the way,
I know it.
I know it's
Hmm.
okay, Leia. I won't tell
Yeah.
Becky.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Becky. I mean, you stated it perfectly. Of it's all tied together. It's all connected. And what I
Yeah.
heard, you tell me if I'm correct. Give yourself grace. Give yourself space. Take care of yourself. Do the work. Be intentional. Did I get all that from you today? Does that sound right?
Think it's a great summary. Yeah. Thanks for hosting and for the opportunity to join you. I feel lucky.
Yep, I do too. All right, everyone. Again, Becky Smith, she is amazing. If you don't know her in the industry, you absolutely have to. Becky, I love you so much. Check out Clark. They're an amazing company. Um, and yeah, be kind to each other. Be generous with each other. I need to read a quote before we go. I have 1 minute. I'm going to read that. Okay, here it is.
Good one.
Before we go, if you're as advertised, people will follow.
Hmm?
If you're as advertised, people will follow. Becky, you are as advertised, and that's why people follow you. You're the real deal. You're amazing. We love you. And thank you again for being on tonight or this afternoon.
Likewise, Stephen.
All right.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. All right.
See you
See you back.
soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye, babe.